We discuss a formula for how you can know how many units to give away to get to the first page of search for any keyword on Amazon. And then some really cool tools that can help you just crush it with private label. It's the Amazon Seller Podcast with special guest Manny Coates. Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Amazon Seller Podcast. We have a really exciting show coming up with special guest. But before we get into that, I just want to remind you to join the Amazing Freedom Amazon Sellers Facebook group if you have not yet. You can go to amazingfreedom.com/Facebook to join the group. And some of you listening or watching have heard me say this before, but you have still not joined the group. So if that's you, go ahead and pick up your phone or go to your computer and go to amazingfreedom.com/Facebook. Highly recommend that you join the group. We share information, ask questions, do videos in there, all kinds of good stuff. So if you have not yet, join the Amazing Freedom Amazon Sellers Facebook group at amazingfreedom.com/Facebook. All right, so let's get in today's episode of the Amazon Seller Podcast, an episode that I'm really excited about because we have a special guest with us today, Manny Coates. And Manny is a phenomenal $1 million Amazon seller, multiple millions. And he's done some really cool stuff in the Amazon seller space. Not only with selling, but he's also developed a number of really cool private label tools. And so we're going to talk about those in just a few minutes. And before we get into that, I just want to let you know that some of the information that we're going to talk about today might be kind of high level. So this is definitely an episode that I would recommend that you go back and listen to twice or maybe even multiple times. And we're also recording this on audio for the podcast and also on video, and it's going to be on YouTube. So definitely worth listening to more than once. Watch the video to see some of the stuff that Manny's going to share with us on screen. And so you can find that on our YouTube channel by typing in Amazing Freedom or Andy Slamans or going to the Amazing Freedom Facebook group where we're going to post this. So I'm going to hand this off to our own Leron Hirschkorn. Leron, I'm going to let you ask Manny a couple of questions, see where Manny is coming from, how he got started with Amazon, what he's been doing, what he's up to, and what he has to talk with us about today.
Yep. Sure. Yeah. And I've been following Manny and Manny's podcast from before the time I met him face to face or ever talked to him, and always has had great content. So we're happy to have you on. So why don't you start telling us just a little bit about how you got into Amazon, what you did before, and what you're working on these days.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me, guys. I'll try to give you the summarized short version because I go back a long ways. I go all the way back to owning the world's largest humor site back in 1999. It's called twistedhumor.com. Got my feet wet in the whole e-com business there, learning things because there were no laws and rules and things that you could do online. But fast forwarding to just a handful of years ago, I was in the mobile space. We were doing mobile games for Apple for iPhones, and got really crazy competitive, way more competitive than Amazon is even today. And the big players, the guys that had, the Zyngas and the guys that owned, multi-billion-dollar companies were just crushing everything. And I felt, I'd try some stuff out on Amazon. I had a buddy that was doing it. And we did it. And I just noticed that every hour that I put into this business, I was seeing returns. Whereas with the mobile side, it seemed like every month I was putting in more hours to try to actually get more return out of it. So at one point, it wasn't that long. It was a few months into doing Amazon. I ended up putting the mobile side or the mobile business aside, started building out. That was in December of 2015. I did my first test, got through Christmas. Set some goals for the year. I think it was $250,000 to, for the year of 2016. We crushed through that. We did about 1.6 million. Started a podcast at the beginning of the year as well. And just started kind of documenting my journey, and it's worked well. We also transitioned into a software company, and got a lot of little projects going on.
Awesome. And so you started straight out with private label.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming you just started out by, obviously learning a lot and launching, a bunch of products. I'm sure some worked, some didn't work. What was, the takeaway you have from like how to have a goal of 250,000 and get to 1.6 million in sales? Most people don't accomplish that.
Yeah, I would say the first thing is to start with some money. Trying to start with $500 is just going to be tough. You can do it. There's stories out there, people doing it. But if you don't have, thousands, a few thousand at least to get some inventory, to get enough inventory so you don't run out of stock right away, and then you have to wait another month or 2 months in order to get stuff. That's probably the first key. The second thing would be, don't give up. My very first product, I don't know how many people know this. If they've been with me since the beginning of the AMPM podcast, they'd know that my first product was liquid chalk markers. And that's a market that people are crushing it in right now. I know people actually in this market that are just doing really well. I've talked to them. That was my first product, and it failed. Right. But I learned from it. I had that product. I remember the very first thing, the first time I learned about the 3-foot drop test. I'm like, what the heck is that? I already had the product, and I dropped it, and the thing exploded all over the floor. And I'm like, oh, this is not good. this is not going to work. So, but that product, it wasn't a complete failure. I was making sales, but I wasn't good at calculating all the costs associated with it, because a lot of people don't figure that stuff out. They don't factor in the cost of advertising, the cost of returns, the cost of damaged stuff, the cost of every shipping and custom fees. And there's probably about 50 different fees that you got to figure out, right? Plus taxes on top of everything. So in the end, it just wasn't profitable, but I used that product as a test base. So I was basically saying, okay, let me see if I can change this in the title or change this in the bullet points. Or what if these weird fields in the back end, I don't know what this field means, but what if I put a keyword in there and let's track it and see what happens? So I was using it for that. And then I learned, and then I applied that to the next product and the next product. And then from there, things started to take off.
Hey, I want to ask something real quick on that.
Sure.
A lot of people will start with maybe $5,000. And as you kind of mentioned, they might spend or put all $5,000 towards their initial production of that product. And we've been telling our members, especially our course members lately, you really need to leave some room in there for what we call basically a marketing budget, right? And you kind of hit on that. And so, I mean, do you have if someone did have $5,000-$10,000, do you have based on your recommendations, what you would say to kind of designate towards a marketing budget or, other expenses?
I guess I would say it depends, right? If you only have $1,000 to start with, then you're probably not going to have much of a marketing budget. You're going to have to be creative. You're going to have to use influencers. You're going to have to do stuff. You're going to have to do a lot of the legwork yourself versus if you have, if you're starting out with 5,000, 10,000, absolutely. I would agree. I would say, you know what? You do have a marketing budget. You got to figure out pay-per-click. You got to figure out a launch strategy. How are you going to launch? Have you done your keyword research? Do you know what keyword you want to rank for? Because you don't have to rank top for every keyword. You can rank the top for one keyword and have a super successful business. And what a lot of people don't know, I know you guys know this, but every keyword in your title actually gets lift off of every sale, regardless of whether the keyword phrase that someone typed in is in your title or not. So if you have a launch strategy on a particular keyword phrase and you get that to the top and you're getting all these sales organically, little by little, you'll see if you're tracking all those keywords, you'll see them moving up in the ranks. And eventually that just kind of snowballs and you start generating a lot of sales, assuming everything else is in place, right? Your images and your listing is good and your pricing is very competitive compared to everybody else that's on that page for that search term.
Yeah, I just want to say that that's important. And that's why, we really recommend that you optimize your listing or you set that up before, because I don't think a lot of people know what you just said there, Manny, that, the title and your other keywords that are in your listing all get a lift from those sales. So it's really important that you have your listing optimized and looking well so that conversions are good, basically as soon as you're launching your product.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yep. And, what you said there is, don't give up, because we always say your first product is your MBA and private label, right? There's nothing you could do research till the cows go home, right? But until you launch that first product, you're not really going to learn some of the things that you learn along the way. So let's fast forward. You obviously were, started having some success, and then you saw maybe what prompted you, I guess, to say, hey, some of the tools out there are not really doing what I want to do, and I need to develop something myself.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. So I started this in December of 2015. So last year was my first full year doing this, and at the beginning of last year, there were a lot of tools, but not like now. It seems like it's exploded. There's a lot of different options out there. Some good tools, a lot of bad tools. But at the time, I wanted very specific things. I already had a software development team. And I'm like, well, I wish I had this tool here, but it did this, this, and this. So we started coding some of the stuff up, and I was using them for myself. And I would talk about them on the podcast. I had a Periscope going at the time when that was popular, and we were talking about the tools. And it was consistently brought up, like, "Hey, can we use this tool?" And I'm like, "No, use Jungle Scout," or because Jungle Scout's already out there, and our stuff that we were developing was for me running on my system. It wasn't designed for anybody else. There's problems with scaling out to the masses. And eventually, we released something for free, which was called Scribbles, and then Frankenstein, which is another tool. These are listing optimization tools and keyword manipulation tools, right? To make sure the keyword manipulation sounds bad, but manipulating the keywords that have the best possible listing. And they were free. They're still free at Helium 10. And we eventually, we kept modifying and improving them. And we had a team, and there was costs, and I was absorbing those costs for myself. But I'm like, you know what? We've got a lot of people that are now using this tool, thousands of people. So let's put out a tool that, we can actually charge a fee for, that's worth actually paying for. And so then we were like, well, let's just create a suite of tools, everything in one place. And that's what we did. Because I noticed even I was going out even with our tools, I still had to go out over here to use this tool and over here to use this tool and this tool outside of the tool sets that we had. And I was paying $97 here and $57 here and $100 here. And by the time it was all said and done, I was like, man, I'm paying a lot of money and I'm jumping around, and I got to copy this into this spreadsheet and go over here. And it just became a mess. So we just kind of cleaned everything up and created a suite of tools, over a dozen tools now, that everything kind of talks to each other. Keyword research talks to the manipulation of the keywords, which then talks to the tracking tool and so forth. I know I'm moving my hands all over in front. Sorry, guys.
That's okay. Yeah, we were just doing. We just came back from a weekend retreat we did in Florida, and big sort of component of our keyword research and what we were teaching is using Magnet, right? Part of the tool to find a lot of related keywords, and then as part of the keyword research process that we use, then taking all those keyword phrases and putting them into Frankenstein, right? So that you can sort of identify the unique keywords in there and the unique phrases in there that you need to kind of weave into your listing. And when it comes down to it, after the thousands of keywords that you find, you actually realize, if you use Frankenstein, that hey, there's like 60, 70 main things I need to actually figure out how to get into my listing. And it's actually possible to get a lot of these sort of major and some minor long tail stuff into my listing. So we find that it's super helpful as part of a keyword research process, and we really like the tool set. So
yeah, there's one thing in Frankenstein also that's really cool that a lot of people don't know, and that is you can paste in. Let's say you use whatever keyword tool you want. We have our own keyword tools, but let's say you have 5,000 keywords or 10,000. You've used multiple tools. You paste them all into Frankenstein, so you have all these phrases, right? Way more than you need. You can actually filter it, and on the right side, it'll actually show you the frequency of every single keyword that's used in there. So now you can actually sort by that, and then you can say, okay, I know that this, if it's a tactical flashlight, I know that all the top phrases that are mentioned the most in all of these phrases. And if you start using those in your bullet points and your titles and stuff, you'll get the most combination of keywords that you possibly can by concentrating maybe on the top 10% of those keywords, instead of trying to stuff your listing with 100% of those. You don't need them every single time. A lot of people don't know that feature's there, and it's really powerful because you can start at the top and then work your way down. And you use Scribbles because you can just paste everything into the Scribbles tool. And as you're typing these things out, they disappear. And when it's empty, you've got a super optimized listing. You used every major keyword that you need.
Awesome. Yeah. And we just did this thing this weekend, and somebody actually posted in our group that they started doing some keyword research. They had a product that was selling like one a week. And they're not doing thousands of sales, but they added some keywords in, and they've had like 2 sales yesterday, 2 sales today, just by adding some keywords and not really doing anything. So we know, and I'm sure kind of why you developed this tool set, that keywords are like the foundation of everything that you do on Amazon.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for sure. And then of course there's other things that you can do with your listing and you guys have probably covered this before, closing your listing. Not everybody does this. I don't know if you guys do this, but I close my listing when I stock out. Do you guys do that by chance?
No, I've never tested this, but I've heard this. I haven't had major issues, sort of like recovering from an out of stock. Like, I ended up on page 3 after being out of stock in 2 months. I gave away like 50 units and got back up page 1. But you could talk about this because this is a good tip, I think.
Yeah, it's cool. Almost everybody I've ever talked to does not do this or doesn't even know you should do this. But yeah, if you run out of stock, and you can determine how you want to run out of stock. Some people like increasing their price and slowing down their sales so they can make it last. I feel like you should almost like accelerate it so you go out with a bang. But when you run out of stock, what do you do then, right? Most people wait. And then I've noticed this a lot of times where I'm jamming, I'm just crushing it with this product. I run out of stock. It takes me a month to get stuff in. By the time I get it back going, I just never get back to where I was. Now, not on every product. Some products rebound, like you said. Other products, they just never did fully. So what I do now is you can actually go to that listing in Seller Central and you can close that listing. Now, it sounds scary, like close listing, like you're getting rid of it. But when you close your listing, all it's basically doing is just making it inactive for the time being. It's still there, still shows up. But it stops. The idea is because I don't work at Amazon, but from the data that we've seen and people that I talk to that have tons of data as well, it stops the accumulation of you making zero sales every single day. So your BSR is still gonna climb, right? You can't stop that. But what happens is because you don't have this rolling average, I guess you could say, when you come back into stock, you activate that product again. And then you're able to rebound much faster. And we've seen that actually happen where within, a week, we're back up to where we started. Sales velocity is still the way it was when we left. So it's a super cool tip. I don't think it can hurt to do it. I've never seen it hurt in any way, but I think it's really cool.
Let's use this because you're talking about rolling sales averages per day, and some people might not be familiar with why that's even important. So let's use this to talk about a new feature that you actually have, Manny, within Helium 10 called Cerebro, right? Actually just released not that long ago. And then some stuff that you've been doing with it that basically help you kind of determine how many units you need to give away in a launch, that whole rolling average of sales, all that kind of relates to each other, right? So maybe you can talk about how the rolling averages work with sales, what you've seen in your research, how Amazon kind of looks at rolling averages and compares it to help rank products. And then maybe you can actually even show us some of the stuff that you've been working on just recently for trying to determine how to do a launch effectively, basically.
Yeah. So Cerebro is a reverse ASIN tool. A lot of people have been looking for, a place they can get quality keywords just by typing in. If nobody knows what a reverse ASIN tool is, you just take an ASIN of your competitor, you paste it in there, and then it brings up all the keywords that we've been tracking for that particular ASIN. Do this like over 10 different products that are competing, grab all of that data, combine it all, and then you've got just a massive number of keywords. If you're going to do a product launch, you want to identify the keywords that you want to go after, the ones that have potentially the least amount of competition, the highest volume of searches, right? The problem with keyword tools that are out there right now is a lot of them are based off of other search engine data. So they take Bing or Google or whatever it is, and then they run an algorithm on it and they give you a search number. If the number is way off, which typically it is, then you can't really base any kind of formulas on these numbers, these search volumes, because it's not actually Amazon search data. So we've got billions, actually over 10 billion data points at this point of data from Amazon. We're very accurate with our search volume. Cerebro actually shows you the exact phrase matched volume and a broad match. The formula that we came up with, we called it the CPR method, right? It's a CPR, like to resuscitate your product to do a launch, and it stands for Cerebro Product Rank. But basically, you can take the exact match number that we give you in those keywords or on those keywords, and you can apply this formula to it, and it'll tell you basically if you're going to do a product launch over 8 days. That's kind of what we figured it out on. You can figure out how many units you need to give away per day over those 8 days to rank on page one for just about any keyword for any product. Okay, very popular keywords, you're gonna have to go much bigger in terms of your giveaways, or you might want to go for low-hanging fruit. Now, the average that you were talking about, you can, after 3 days, you might see a big spike. You might already be on page one, but we noticed this in the mobile side of business when we were doing it, that we could rank very quickly. We'd get up there, and then we're like, well, we're already number one or we're number three or whatever. Let's stop the promotion. And then you'll notice over the week, boom, you start dropping really fast. And then we started finding out that with mobile, which now we know is the same with Amazon, they track things over a rolling average. So you have your first 24 hour, you have right now your sales, which are very powerful. Any sales that are coming in give a lot of weight for ranking. Then you have a trailing 24 hours and probably 72 hours and 7 days and 30 days. And I don't know how far back it goes. At some point, it probably trails off to where it just doesn't add a lot of rank juice. Mm-hmm. But that first week, we go to 8 days, we give it one extra day. Is really important, and we're able to hold rank. We're able to rank products pretty easily using this formula. And I can, at some point during the show, I can show the percentages that we came up with, and an even easier way to actually punch in those numbers.
Leron, maybe you can talk about how powerful that is, because up until this point, for many people, it's kind of a guessing game, right? As far as doing giveaways and launching your product and what keywords you should rank for and how much you need to give away to rank for that keyword. So maybe you can talk about just how powerful that is, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think one of the biggest, some of the biggest challenges that people have are, how do I figure out what the main keyword is? And then
I think I lost you there, Leron.
How many units? Oh, sorry. So I think one of the biggest, issues people have is, which keyword should I target? And then is this keyword too competitive, or what should I go after? And then once I do, like, how many units should I give away? Because, there might be sellers on the first page when you do a search, and you look at like market intelligence tool and you see somebody selling 2,000 units, but we know that they're getting those sales from sponsored ads, or getting them from that keyword, from other keywords. Maybe they're doing some external marketing. So how do you sort of target how many units you need to give away, that you don't give away too little and that you don't give away too much? And so I think that's part of what Manny is kind of figure out with this formula. One thing I wanted to ask you before you show us the formula, and then if you're listening on the podcast, we're going to put this up. This should be on YouTube also, and you'll be able to get a visual, which might make this a little bit easier to kind of understand. But I know when you pull up Cerebro, and I've been using it, it gives you a Cerebro IQ score. Mm-hmm. And so can you talk a little bit about what is that score? What does it mean? How should I, when I get the initial results, what should I sort by, and how should I really be, looking at those results once I put an ASIN in there?
Right. So I sort by search volume of exact match, because I just want to start from the top and move my way down. And usually the very top stuff probably isn't going to be great. It's got a lot of search volume, but it might be a single keyword, or it might not even be that relevant to the product. It's every single, this is the cool thing about Cerebro. Every single keyword phrase that shows up in the results from that ASIN is a keyword phrase that ASIN ranks for. So at some point in probably the top 300, 306 results, we found that ASIN has showed up for that keyword. So people will go, well, I got, the word tractor is in there for my product, and I don't have anything to do with tractor. Well, somewhere in your listing, Amazon is ranking you for, or indexed you for tractor, and you've showed up. So maybe that was in the description or something like that. So the IQ score, what it does is it's looking at the competing products, okay? Because we also track that data, and it shows for that particular keyword phrase. And it looks at the total number of searches, and it's just basically a division of the two. So it's trying to find the keywords that have the most search volume per competing product. So if you sort by that, basically at the top, you're going to have stuff that has the lowest competing products for the number of searches, right? So what you're going to probably end up finding is a lot of trademark terms, like the brand names and stuff will be at the top, because you don't have a lot of competitors typically showing up for that kind of stuff if they've got it trademarked and so forth. So you have to use your human brain, right? You got to go through if you're sorting by that and
say, God.
I know. Use your brain in a business, right? So you've got to go through and you've got to determine what makes sense and what doesn't. And the same thing when I search by exact phrase, I want to go from the top and go down, and I'm eliminating stuff. I'm going through and saying, yeah, this is probably not the keyword or phrase I want to go after. It's just way too broad. If I'm going after, tactical flashlight, and the word LED comes up, I'm probably not going to try to rank the word LED, because it's going to have a million, whatever the number is. It's going to have a lot of searches, because that applies to everything, not just flashlights, right? Anything LED. So you're competing with everything. So you really want to niche it down to something that's reasonable.
Right. Got it. Okay. And then when you're using the tool also, it gives you some information about, competing offers and all. And found also gives you headline ads information, right? So it tells you how many different sellers are targeting headline ads for that term.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, how many ASINs it's detected have been shown for that particular phrase. So it's a cool way of finding out what people are advertising on.
Got it. So so I've noticed it to find some stuff that, hey, this is a really good keyword that like my product's already ranking for, but hey, there's zero people targeting this for headline ads. Like, hey, I want to control, if I do a headline ad targeting this keyword, I'm pretty much going to be,
The only one.
the only one, or maybe somebody else might pop up, right? But it's going to
Yeah.
be low cost per click, and I'm going to be sort of dominating that, headline search traffic for my product. So, and I haven't seen any other tool that shows me the amount of competing headline ads. So I thought that was a nice feacer.
That's a great point. Yeah.
So let's see if we can kind of break this down. When we're looking at Cerebro, we see a keyword that has 5,000 exact search monthly volume.
Mm-hmm.
From there, what do we do? How do I decide? Okay, how many units do I need to give away in order to rank for that keyword?
Okay. So for the podcast listeners, the audio listeners, I'll kind of throw, should I share the screen at this point, or do you want me to just to mention the numbers? Because it is a little complicated sometimes with the numbers.
Share the screen. And then, if you're listening on the podcast, you can always go back to YouTube and, check out this part of it if you want to visually see it. If not, you're still going to get a kind of overview of how it works.
Okay. Can you guys see the screen?
Yes.
Okay. So the way it works, it's broken down by numbers. So if it has 5,000 searches, okay, for the exact phrase, you're using the exact phrase column that we have on Cerebro, then you're going to be taking 3% of that number. So 3% of 5,000 is 150 units. And that's how many, and then you stop because that's all it is. You would be giving out 150 units over an 8-day period. So divide that by 8. And you're done. Now, over on the right-hand side, I have a competing product modifier. This is if you want to get a little bit more advanced. I've noticed it kind of dials things in a little bit more. You'll either give out slightly less units or more units depending on how many competing products there are. But if you want to stop with just this side over here, that's fine. For those of you that are listening and can't see the screen, I'll continue this. So the first 5,000 is 3%. Then from 5,001, okay, up to 25,000, okay, you're going to go to 2% for that part of it, okay? And then from 1%, you're going to do 1% for any of the remaining 25,000 to 100,000 monthly search volume. And then if you're
Sorry, so let's break it down. So if the exact search volume is 10,000, then for the first 5,000, I'm going to be giving away 150 units because that's 3%. And then for the next between 5,000 and 10,000,
that's another 5,000. Yeah,
it's another 5,000. I'm going to give away
100 more.
100 more. So I'm going to be giving away a total of 250 units.
250 units
over 8 days.
Over 8 days, yeah. And then if you have over 10,000 units, then whatever's above the 10,000 unit, you're going to multiply that number by 1%. And then we have a formula as well that if you actually are going after an exact search term phrase that has over 100,000 monthly search volume, so that's like a mega keyword, right? Mm-hmm. Then that's a 0.5%. And you just have to make sure that if you're going after those kinds of keywords, that your listing is dialed in, that your images and your pricing is, just on target.
Yep. And what I would add to that is that, if you know the formula for ranking and you know how to give away units through a, targeted keyword search, within the URL, and you know how to do it, it's not difficult if you give away enough units to rank for any keyword. I think the key is understanding that sticking the landing is not always that easy. Meaning if you end up on the first page and you have 0 reviews and everybody around you has over 1,000, it may not be a keyword that you want to target, because what's going to happen is you're not going to keep up those sales because everyone around you has 1,000, you have 5 reviews, and they're going to more likely, the social proof is so overwhelming, they're more likely going to click on your competition, and you're not going to continue to drive those sales. So I think, part of the targeting keywords is, okay, how many units do I need to give away? And then also how competitive is the first page, in terms of the, reviews and the other listings and the quality there, where, is this a keyword I should go after, or should I start somewhere a little bit less competitive? And then maybe in a few months or 5-6 months, I'm going to target some more competitive keywords that, don't have as many reviews. So, Manny actually just pulled up a page for, tactical arbitrage that, we're looking here. And tactical flashlight.
Tactical flashlight.
Tactical arbitrage software. Tactical flashlight, right? And I'm looking at the top of the first page there, and there's thousands of reviews. And so that term tactical flashlight, if I had that product, I might not target that specific term. I might target tactical, black tactical flashlight, right? Or LED tactical flashlight. I might choose the 3 or 4 phrase keyword with a product that's super competitive. And so, understanding the difference between what it takes to rank and what it takes to stay there, I think is something you need to do as part of your, research when launching products.
And I was so this data right here that shows above all these products, that's coming from our Chrome extension. Up here on the right, we have a Helium 10 Chrome extension that's free. But I use this, I think this is for the advanced sellers, this is pretty cool. I like to know, the reason I have the subcategories in here, this was designed for me, I wanted this. If I'm going to launch a product, let's say I'm going to get into tactical flashlights, I want to look at all these subcategories and I want to say, where are they putting these? Hand tools, hunting, tactical flashlights, handheld flashlights. Everybody is positioning, right? They're jockeying for this subcategory because they want this. They want this bestseller badge, right? Yeah. If I can get into one of these subcategories where it only takes 20 sales a day to be the number one seller and get this bestseller badge versus if I go into hand tools and it requires 100 per day, I'm not going into hand tools. I'm going into hunting because I want this bestseller badge to show up because this is social proof. This is going to help my conversions, my clicks at least into the product. So that's kind of, I think that's another little nugget that people should probably consider. I was going to be doing a video or a webinar or something on just this kind of stuff because I think it's super valuable prior to actually launching your product and figuring out where you're going to stick it. Because a lot of people, you guys know, they just throw it up there and put it into whatever category they want.
Right. Yes, definitely. So for those listening on the podcast, what we're looking at right now is we're looking at the Amazon search results page for, tactical flashlight. And if you have the Helium 10 extension, which is, free to download, you can actually, see what the rank is. And then you see some subcategory information. So we're looking at this bestseller and it's 113 tools and home improvement. It's number 1 in tactical flashlights and it's number 12 in hunting. But then we have some other ones that, are in the hand tools category, in the handheld flashlights category. And so you can use that information before you launch your product to say, or before you even create your listing to say, which subcategory am I going to put my product in to figure out, how many you need to give away to maybe be able to get that bestseller badge, which is probably one of the best social proof, things you can have on your listing at Amazon because, social within any marketplace setting, social proof is super important. When you have that bestseller badge, more people are going to click and buy your listing because they're saying, hey, bestseller must mean a lot of people like this product. And so having that data right offhand is really important. So you can check this out on YouTube if you're listening to the podcast. So that's really cool data that we have on there. And why don't we jump on to one of the other things that the extension does, which is review matching. So why don't you talk to us a little bit about that?
So I can't show you on this system because the way the review matching works, when you click into, I can click into a product. Let's say we click into this. What'll end up happening, there's a couple things with the extension. It shows, a graph. And I use this basically to check, if it's seasonal and maybe I want to get into something because I'm like, oh man, during this month the BSR drops, they were like number 2 here for sales rank. We'll skip all this. There's a lot of cool stuff. But then when you get to the bottom, we'll scroll down all the way here. Right here, for those of you that can't see the screen, there's a review revealer claim this ASIN button. So if this is your ASIN and you're logged into your Seller Central account, you can click that. It'll verify that it's your ASIN. And then there's going to be buttons placed next to every single review. So if you get a 1-star review where someone says the product arrived and it was broken, this product sucks. That's a bad customer experience, right? They didn't get a chance to even give you an opportunity to rectify it. What I would want to do is I'd want to contact them and say, you know what, here, I'm going to send you out a new unit free of charge. Don't worry about it. Keep your other one, use it for spare parts, whatever, and make them happy. I'm not going to ask for a review. I'm not going to do anything because chances are, hopefully, they will modify the review. You can even say something like, after getting something, after getting the new unit, if you feel it's worth re-reviewing the product, that would be fantastic. Don't ask for a 5-star review. Don't say, it sucks that you left me a 1-star review. But this is a really important tool because a lot of times it'll say, I don't know if it's on here. Yeah, right here, Amazon customer. You don't know who Amazon customer is. Amazon customer, right? They're all over. Who's Brownie? You don't know who Brownie or Island Warrior is. Someone's not ordering with the name Island Warrior. So by clicking this, it's going to match this person up to the order in your Seller Central account, and it's going to allow you to then contact that person to rectify the issue. But you got to make sure, because terms of service with Amazon are very clear about harassing their users and contacting your users and trying to do. I'm not going to go over everything that's against their terms of service. You guys can look that up. But you're doing it as a customer service offer, right? You're going to them and saying, I want to fix this problem that you have. Let me do that. And you got to be nice about it.
Yep. And, one of the things that I do is in my initial email to the customer, I'll say, hey, I try not to even mention the word review in the email itself ever, because I feel like that might be flagged by Amazon in some kind of way. So what I say is, hey, we saw your feedback, on our flashlight on Amazon. We'd love to rectify the situation, send you out a new one. Can you please confirm that the shipping address is still the same? And the reason why I do that is because if this customer is never, ever going to communicate with me, then they're probably never going to respond back or change a review or do anything. So I kind of wait for them to say, yeah, the shipping address is still the same. And I'm like, great, we'll send you out a new one. And then I'll say something like, we'll send you out a new one. If you like it better, we'd love for you to update your feedback. And again, I won't use the word review. I say update your feedback, and they'll say, sure. Most of the time, I find that the customer actually does change it. They're very happy. If they don't, maybe a week later, send them a follow-up, hey, just wanted to make sure that you got it. Is it working better for you? And then if they say, yeah, I really appreciate it if you update your feedback. And I won't go more than that, 2 things, right? Again, like Manny says, you don't want to harass the customer, and you want them to have a better experience. And I find that the law of reciprocity says that if you do something for someone, they have this sort of burden to do something back for you. And that it works really well. And that I also don't end up sending something to every single person, because I wait for that initial communication back from the customer, so that at least I know I have some kind of dialogue with them. So that's been working really well for me in terms of changing 1-star to 4- and 5-star reviews pretty consistently.
Yeah, that's important, guys. I should mention that the review revealer is just part of the Chrome extension tool. So if you have that, you can see what's on the screen. All this data, it's yours to see for free. As of right now, Review Revealer is also free for Chrome extension users. If you want that, you can go to, I think it's helium10.com/extension. And the only thing that is blurred out here is the Cerebro tool. For that, you can get keywords. I think you can get, it's a reverse ASIN tool. You guys don't have to go and pay for reverse ASINs anymore if you want keywords. Everybody gets 2 searches per day. So it's 4,000 keywords you can get every single day for free. That's 60 searches a month. So forget about paying for them. If you want all the analytics that we provide with those keywords, to do all the ranking stuff, then you'd want to become a paid member. And I know that Larry and you guys have a code to help people with that as well. So
yeah, definitely. And one of the things that Manny has given us for our audience is, so the Helium 10 has a few different plans, a 97, I think 197 and 297. Each one gives you a certain amount of searches. I find even the $97 plan gives me a lot of searches. But what you've done is if you want to use Helium 10, you can get the 197 plan. You can put in keyword coupon code FREEDOM, has to be all in caps, and that will give you that 197 plan for $97 a month. The extension is free. And again, we find it very useful to do our keyword research and just have a lot of things in one place. I also use it to do my keyword tracking. So that's another one of the features, right? People are all over these Facebook groups saying, hey, sales are down today, and my keyword's this and my keyword that. And then I just kind of look at how are my keywords doing? How am I ranking? As things really change for me, you can kind of get a feel if things have changed in the algorithm or not, if you're actually tracking your keywords and how they're doing compared to, over time in a graph. So I find, tracking how your listings and how the keywords that you're targeting are doing over time is really helpful to see, performance and new competition coming in, and what you want to do and how you decide, okay, am I going to sort of give a keyword another push, or what should I go after? It's really helpful if you're tracking keywords. So you can go to Helium. You can go to amazingfreedom.com / is it Helium, Nate?
Yep, amazingfreedom.com/helium can get you some more information on that. And then again, that coupon code is FREEDOM in all caps if you want to check out the suite of tools. We didn't even hit all of them, right, Manny? There's other tools in there. A lot of them focus on keyword research. We talked about just how important that is, but there's many other in there. And I thought I would just ask Manny, I mean, what's the plan here going forward? I mean, continuing to add new tools to the suite of Helium 10. I know it seems like you've been adding, or you did add a bunch, took a little break, and now you have a bunch of new features that have just been rolled out. Really cool. Planning to add more to that going forward in the future?
Yeah, I think so. A lot of it is born out of necessity. There was some stuff that happened with reverse ASINs recently, and people were saying, can you guys create something like that? Because we were like, we don't want to create tools where there's already good solutions. So we created it, and we also have an inventory protector. I don't know if you guys have that as well, but basically what's important, and this is where people can get in trouble, Aaron, you know about how this goes, right?
Yep.
You create these coupons, you don't set them up right, and then you have someone come in and they wipe out all your inventory because they used 500, they order 500 of something by coupon stacking, or you didn't set your limits to 1 unit per sale, right? So we have a tool in there that I believe that one is free for use as well, just to protect people. So you just go in there and you can put your ASIN in there and then say, or all of your ASINs if you want, and you can just say, I want a max of 1 unit per person. That just kind of locks your account down so that people can't do that. So use that in conjunction with your launches, guys, just to be safe, because a lot of bad things could happen if you don't. But yeah, we're constantly developing. Our team, we have to expand our team, obviously, to continue developing, because our team is constantly updating their current tools. You know, the Review Revealer tool that we just went over recently broke. Anytime you're working with Amazon and things change, you have to fix things essentially. And we always want to make things more accurate and better. And there's a lot of feature requests as our user base grow. They want new features, new things. So yeah, it's cool. And the coupon code that you mentioned, guys, it's the word freedom. When you're checking out, if you're actually becoming a paid plan member, there's a coupon button there. You click that, you enter the coupon code. And I don't know if it was clear, but it's $100 off. So it's a $1,200 value per year that Liran and his team are offering. So it's super cool.
Awesome. Yeah, we really appreciate you coming on. I'm sure we'll have you on again to talk about more Amazon strategies, and hope you crush it this Q4. And guys, if you're listening to this, if you like our podcast, check out also Manny's. Manny has the AM PM podcast. You'll find a lot of great guests on there. And just soak up all the information you can, and then put it into action in your business, and you'll have an edge over your competition.
Yeah, listen to the episode I did with Liran, because that thing was nuggets all over the place. That was good. That was one of the best podcasts I think I've done this year, actually, honestly.
Awesome. Thank you very much. We feel the same, about your contribution here. Manny's one of those guys in this community that that we trust. We trust his information. We don't necessarily say the same about everybody. So thank you for coming on the show, sharing with us, and we look forward to having you on again.
Thanks for having me. We'll drop a lot of I have a big list of stuff to talk about next time.
All right. Awesome. Thank you.
Take care, guys.